The amateur game has always been a big part in our lives. It's always the topic of our conversations and it's constantly on our minds on a daily basis.
Although it's not at a professional level, the amateur game is a working class sport at a working class level. Players put their bodies on the line, lives on hold, and have worked their socks off to be the best they can be from the top to the bottom of the amateur game.
We live and breathe football, and the amateur game has given us our best years in football. Both of us have come to the end of our playing days and want to sit and speak to the legends of the game, legends in their world, to sit and listen about the careers and stories of the game we love.
Welcome to our podcast.
3 points, please.
Okay, today we have a Leinster Senior League veteran with a good few trophies underneath his belt for when he played, has managed in the top level. Peter Flood, welcome.
Welcome, Peter.
Thanks, lads.
So we're managing schoolboys at the moment, are we? Or helping out
Managing
with
schoolboy team at the minute. Yeah, I went in for the first time with my young lad. Well, he was under 17 last year. Went in to help with that team. I kind of stayed away from that for all the years that he was playing. I'd go out and obviously support his matches and all. Never get involved. He has his coaches and managers for that. If he wanted to talk to me about football, we'd talk. But other than that, I just go out as a supporter and try and enjoy the games that he's playing in.
What would you find the differences now, obviously, with kids and adults? Is there?
Yeah, very much. It'd be significant for me. I would have been very much that when you were in seniors, it was results business,
Yeah.
as opposed to developing players.
Is this your first time ever going near schoolboy as a manager?
When David was under 13, I helped with an under 14, so I would have been only helping. I wouldn't have classed myself as a manager. I wouldn't have even classed myself as an assistant. I helped with training and help on match day. Would have really enjoyed that actually. That was a team it was actually struggling for players. This whole thing had kind of kicked off where some teams were affiliated with League of Ireland. Templeogue at that time weren't, and a few of the kids left right before the start of the season. They actually had a good team. Parents wanted that sort of affiliation with the League of Ireland, like they had a pathway into, the League of Ireland setup. And so a few of David's team then would help. The year younger, they'd help with Chris's team. So it was always a challenge even getting a team out onto the pitch, but they were a great bunch of kids and thoroughly enjoyable now training them and going out and match day with them.
Good.
Would you think? Would you step back into senior football if the opportunity came up?
I would have said the last time I actually went back into Firhouse Clover, I went in to help as opposed to manage. You have a shelf life, I think, where you're doing that. And I would have said I would have been burned out after when I had finished up. But then Paul off the committee had asked me to get back involved. He felt they needed every bit of help that they could. James Mooney and Tony Hession were doing the job after Keith Baker would have been manager, and there was a bit of a mass exodus from the club. So to try and, if you like, steady the ship and see can you help them get players and that.
In terms of burnt out, do you mean in yourself, like the passion not there, or do you think your time was kind of gone as a manager?
I would have said burned out from a point of view, the whole effort that you would be putting into. So the Firhouse Clover setup, if you're going back to when I was playing, say, at St.Francis, so I'm gone in there as a 20-year-old. The training that we were doing 32 years ago with Pete Mann, I would say it would be tougher than most teams today. In terms of what you had, or what Pete would have had, the support mechanisms there, committee and so on, Firhouse Clover would have been, it would have been worlds apart from what I was used to seeing and being around as a player. But in saying that, there was great people there and that were doing their best. But you're trying to bring that on, and you're trying to bring that on another level. It's very difficult when we were training the Firhouse Community Centre behind a goal in a small area.
Base, did they? Firhouse, like no.
So training, you'd be over in Marley Park, Astro one night. He could be up in Tala Leisure Centre on the small side of pitches. Could be Postal, the small side of pitches. So you're lugging gear around. You're lugging gear around the whole time. When you're trying to, with players, you're organising stuff off the pitch. Like, you're very much a committee man as well as a manager.
Yeah.
Without the committee title. But yeah, so that would have been exhausting. Now, a great challenge in the whole lot. When I was assistant at Belgrove, player assistant at Belgrove, for a year and a half. Then I was assistant to Liam Riley at Bluebell. And when Liam stepped away, Liam actually said to me, "What about you going forward for the job with me stepping away?" And I go, "No, I'll step away with you. If I was going to do it, like, you've assembled that whole team, it'd be a sort of fresh challenge if I had to, if I really wanted to step into the management role or manager per se." But yeah, and then I wasn't that long away from it, and Liam actually got a call about the Firhouse Clover job, and he worked with one of the lads off the committee, and he said, "I wouldn't be interested, but I'd certainly ring Peter, or ring Peter yourself and see would he be interested." And he was sort of recommending me for the job. I remember going down to meet them, the interview if you like, and so they were sort of, what sort of guarantees could I give them? The only guarantee I could give them was that I do the job to the best of my ability. I could guarantee them how many players they could get in the door. But sure, that first year I took over with 15 games left. First game was Arklow away. And then you're going, we're picking a team and who's at training, and training attendances wouldn't have been good. So you've done a few training sessions. We might have got a little bit of leeway from the league there, where we had a couple of weeks to try and get ourselves organised. And so even the goalkeeper, I knew Paddy Whelan was the goalkeeper there, Collie Bourne. I knew Paddy was the better goalkeeper, but Collie was training. So you're making a decision there where I played Collie because Collie was training, and you were trying to instill this into the whole lot of them.
Bring standards in, yeah.
And the importance of training and training regular. So you can't be missing training for the sake of missing training. And to me, I was getting that vibe from the start. So you're trying to set your stall out, if you like. But anyway, didn't Collie was 1-1, and Collie let a ball under his foot. Glenn Walsh was at the club then, David Vickery. They kind of were standout players.
Glenn Walsh, the centre half, left sided centre half, played for well then. Yeah.
Man mountain. But Glenn had some issues. Glenn came to me. He got sent off in the game. Collie had the ball under his foot, and we were beating 2-1. So you're down to 14 matches left, and we're playing Mount Marion at home in the next game. So those two teams were around the bottom, and you're kind of hoping that you could take some points off them. Anyway, we were playing Mount Marion at home. Again, training on the Tuesday night, training on the Thursday night, and there was a lad that played for the club, David Nolan, and to me, he really was the only one I could see that could get us a goal, and kind of maybe get us a goal out of nothing. And he didn't train Tuesday, and he didn't train Thursday. And he sent me a message on Saturday evening. He goes, "I haven't got a text about the squad or anything like that. The Saturday team played today. I wasn't involved in that." And I said, "Well, come training next week, and I'll see, can I get you in one of the squads next week?" Now, I knew I was cutting my nose out to spite my face. But if I didn't do it, and if he didn't send a message round, he's not picking anyone that doesn't train. Yeah. Anyway, we lost that game against Mount Marion. Now we've 13 left. But then we got a little bit of luck. We got a bad snow. And most of our players were from around the area. So, National Basketball Arena, indoor training, Firhouse Community Centre, indoor training. And we got a great run of training over the Christmas when nobody was training.
No one getting trained, yeah.
So if we could hit the ground running when we come back, obviously that would be a great start for us, and hopefully you'd have them right at it. We played Talca Rovers, 13 games to go. We were 2-1 down. We got a penalty near the end. We had a player Brian Morris was sent off in the game, and you're sort of thinking, after all the work that we've done, 2-1 down, you're kind of thinking it's, even at that stage, you're thinking, geez, is this going to keep slipping away from them, you know? But now the work that they were putting in over those few weeks, it was phenomenal. And it was, now when I tell you, it was I'd use the word, I wouldn't use it lightly. I'd say it was inspiring to see how hard they were working. And then with the sending off, anyway, we've got a late panel. We drew with them, went inside, and Doc, Doc that's involved in the Leinster Senior League.
Doc Lawler, yeah.
Took to the bar, and Doc says to me, "You've no hope of keeping them up here." And I said, "Why?" And he says, "Sure, you've not really got anyone that'll score a goal for you." Right? And I said, "Once we're not conceding them, we'll be alright." We had 11 clean sheets in 12 games to finish the season.
Stead up, obviously.
We stead up easily.
There's some going, yeah. 11
We actually accumulated the same amount of... Wayside won the league that year. We accumulated the same amount of points as the league winners.
What year was
the
this?
second half of the second half of that would be... That's probably Toys Bluebell 09-10. When the Crumlin won that quadruple, I think 09-10, did they?
I think so, yeah.
So I would have said that's around 2011, 2012. Yeah. So yeah, like it was an incredible run.
A roller coaster by your forced.
Yeah, you think, and to be quite honest, I had no intention of staying.
After that?
No. Sure, there was nights I was out to bed. Sure, it was a waste of time getting into bed. Sure, I couldn't sleep. So you're thinking about how you're going to get your next few points. Whether that's 1 point, whether it's 3 points.
It's not the point you're thinking of.
Yeah.
It was a quality goal.
We did a little bit of luck, I suppose. That we had in that was Shamrock Rovers had a Leinster Senior League team, and they folded, and we got a few players in from there.
Lads in, yeah.
And there was one lad came in, a full back, Mark Darcy, what a player. I don't think he put a foot wrong for any of the matches that he played. In fact, we played Wayside away, and we played Wayside away. P. Lennon said, P. Lennon came to me after the match. He said, "Peter, where'd you get that full back? Absolute machine." There's another lad, John, played centre half. Excuse me, Alan Curry, centre forward. Alan Curry was brilliant for us. But there was a lad played for us, Gareth Pierce. Would you know Gareth, would you? Gareth played at the back. So Gareth was just a talker. In fact, I was looking at them TikTok clips and I seen there's a TikTok clip there, Joe Flood, where he did the indoor thing, and I noticed one of the comments on it. I think there was only 2 comments on it, but one of the comments was "still a mouthpiece." And I'm sort of saying to myself, still a mouthpiece. That's a mouthpiece you need in every team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, keeps everyone tuned in.
And Gareth Pierce was brilliant at that. Absolutely brilliant at that. But then, as we kind of developed as a team, where you're gonna, we would have sat in a low block and would have frustrated everybody. But then if you're trying to bring that on, and then you have a few better players coming in, that would have been a problem then for Gareth, because as we were a little bit more expansive and opened up, there was obviously a chance that he'd get that little bit more exposed. He was getting older. Yeah. But you would have been sad to see that demise in a way. But then we sort of built on from that and got stronger. So the Saturday team are doing really well. Saturday team won Lanigan Cup, Purcell Cup. They had a couple of they are not Purcell Cup. It's changed. It was Purcell Cup and I played not and hasn't changed. No Ryan.
Yeah.
And there's a few players playing in the Saturday team. Just really, really good players. Ended up playing Sunday football. One of them actually ended up a junior international, Lee Murta. And then with the Sunday team getting stronger, so there were kind of milestones for the club in that you're getting a good run the FUI intermediate, you're qualifying for the FUI senior. That was all a big thing for the club.
It's good positivity, yeah.
Oh yeah, brilliant, yeah. And so there's that bit of momentum there, and I suppose you're there's that little bit of pedigree then as they're competing sort of at the top half more. Like we came second in that senior division for Firhouse Clover. That was Crumlin and Bluebell had a playoff. I don't know if you remember that. They had a playoff. That might have been Bluebell winning their first title under Andy Noonan. Whoever won the match was going to come first, and whoever lost the match was going to come third. But no matter what, even if they drew the match, Firhouse Clover couldn't win it. But we came second, which was a huge thing. Now, there would have been lads at Air Club that would have been massively disappointed. And you're trying to explain to them, do you know how hard it is? Like, I mean, to win that division. I played at Francis first. When we're going into senior, and like, okay, if you look at, I've been very fortunate in the clubs that I played with, and you're winning trophies. But you're trying to explain to them how difficult it is to win. If you're, what's in 20? How many teams in that senior division is it? 14.
14, yeah.
14. You're playing 26 games, so 14. So you're going 14. If every team is using an average of 20 players, like, and you do the maths on that, and look how many, and then how many players can't win a league. And then over the space you play, you know yourselves, you're playing over 10 years, or if you're lucky enough to play 12 years, if you play 10 years plus, those years slip by really, really quickly. And I'm trying to say, even to the team that I'm doing now, the under 18s, they're in the LFA. You know, we're in major, so our next game is against Portmarnock, who are Premier. But like, give it a right go. It's probably the last cup that you're going to play in as a teenager.
Go away.
And then once you start playing senior, like, the years, they slip by. Like, I could talk about the Belgrave team and when we won the Intermediate Cup, and I remember in the dressing room afterwards, I didn't play in the replay. I pinched my cartilage before the first match. I wasn't even in the squad for the replay. And if I'm being brutally honest, I probably shouldn't have went out on the pitch in the final down in Cork against Rockmount. But you're trying to say, there was a load of young lads in our dressing room, and I'm saying to them, now you've got to build on this. So you've won an Intermediate Cup, and most of you, it's in your first or second year playing in senior football, which is phenomenal. But to go on and win stuff now, and then as other players come into the club, you need to instill the good training habits, match day habits. You know, when you're trying to get things over the line, and how you game manage and so on. You've had experienced players now help you. It's up to you now to pass that on and kick on further. And I think if I'm not mistaken, the only two players that won a trophy after that, Anthony Doyle and Ian Sherry, and I'm nearly sure they won a Metropolitan Cup with Bluebell. James Keddy might have been the manager. I'd be certain that Ian was playing in that team. Maybe not Anthony. I could be wrong about Anthony, but yeah, if you would think that when someone gets a taste of it, and even when you listen to the podcast, you're interviewing other players, and you hear them talking about when they got a taste for it, and then how much they wanted them, to experience that more and more and more.
So we take you back then to your playing career, then obviously where you grew up in Tallaght. We go through a couple of trophies then.
Yeah, so I started playing with Tallaght United, then they amalgamated with Tallaght Dabs, then it was Tallaght Town, and I won one league. Lads I started playing football with, whether it was a mistake that I made, like Stephen Kenny, the former Ireland manager, he was managing Pats. I played with Steve. I started playing football with Stephen. There was a nucleus of players there, really good players, that went off to join Stella, Belvedere, teams like that. Moved out of the area. Which
was the thing though, because that's where you got their throws away to England. Yeah. Now it was kind of the bigger teams.
And I stayed.
Yeah.
And so I stayed with the team. Now our team weakened significantly to a point where we'd be getting well beaten every week.
Yeah.
And then under 15, I went to Bluebell for 1 year. We won the Neville Cup. I think that's under 15. Under 15 or under 16. And then I did 1 year at Cherry Orchard. But I went back to Tallaght.
Yeah.
Because of the lads that I would have played with from a young age, I still felt I wanted to play with them. And then, Bluebell Neville Cup, the Cherry Orchard team. I'm trying to, is there any, no, David Collins was gone to Liverpool when I went to that Cherry Orchard team. John Connolly, goalkeeper. Do you remember John played League of Ireland? Really good goalkeeper. He would have been the best goalkeeper I played with. Now, if you're last about the best team that you played, that's more sort of as a schoolboy. Oh yeah, different gravy. Absolutely brilliant. And there would have been a lot of good players in that in that Cherry Orchard team. Won an All-Ireland against Home Farm. That was played in Dalymount Park actually before the FAI Cup final. It was nearly a full house.
Some experience, hasn't he? Yeah.
What age group was that?
That would be, was that under, I'm trying to remember, was that under 17? I think Bluebell was 15 and Cherry Orchard was 16. I could be wrong. Then went back to Tala, and then ended up going down to St. Francis. So there was actually a couple of lads that palled around my sister.
That was going from schoolboy to senior with St. Francis, is it?
Yeah. And a couple of lads that palled around with my sister, and there was a few lads from town. They were up in the house one evening. I came into the kitchen, and a couple of them said to me about playing a 7-a-side down in the Cuckoo's Nest. So I went down anyway to play with them in the 7-a-side. Excuse me. And it's the Saturday manager from St. Francis, Jimmy Mooney. You ever heard of Jimmy now? He broke his leg in the run up to that FAI Cup final against Cove. Roy Keane came home for that game. He was on trial with Forest at the time. He might have even signed at that stage. But anyway, Jimmy was a brilliant player. He was a great manager too. But Jimmy was actually, he wasn't a manager, he was the assistant manager. So he asked me about going down training. But when I went down training, then I was training with all these fellas, and then you hear that term used on the telly, mentality monsters. You want to see the way these fellas trained.
Were they League of Ireland at this stage?
No. That was 2 year after so that would have been around 92. 2 years after the FAI Cup final run that they had, when they played Bray. Bray beat them in the final. And actually, little plug for me, all manager Pete. I think he has to be the only amateur manager that managed in an FAI Junior Cup final, FAI Intermediate Cup final, and an FAI Senior Cup final, which is incredible. I think the last one to do it.
That's a stat. He's the only one to do that.
Would you believe I rang Tig? He's involved in Mayfield. He would have been involved in the Munster Senior team. I actually rang him the other day to ask him did he know anyone in Cork
that had done it in Munster.
Yeah. And he didn't know of anyone. John Young, Wembo, who passed recently, only a young man, lovely fella, Wembo. But Wembo won a junior international and an inter. He's probably the most recent one to win a junior international and an intermediate. But Pete managed in all three. I doubt that any other manager has done that. But down at Francis was just. The lads that you play with down there, the way that they trained, there was no such thing as like doing anything half-hearted. If you tried it, like Pete might say, we're doing a particular drill, which was running, and you're doing 6 of them. You try to go easy on 1, on 2,
you're doing 10.
You wouldn't survive at the club.
Yeah,
that's just the way that they were, and feared nobody. And I went in. Martin Kerr was the manager. Would you heard Martin? I heard of Martin. No,
we're a bit on the younger scale.
That's okay.
You hear we feel you here now, but
sometimes you hear these lads. Martin would have been a centre halfer that he played in the FAI Cup final, but Martin was an absolutely outrageous centre half and athlete, strength, like he's an all round brilliant player. But Martin was the manager. Martin would have been a little bit more boisterous than Jimmy, but if you come in at half time, Martin had a little bit more aggression about him if things were going wrong. Jimmy to me was very to the point where you might feel the game is slipping away from you, or where you might be struggling in a part of the game in the first half. Jimmy was great at pointing them things out. So the first year I'm not sure we were runner up in that major Saturday. Going into year 2, there was a mass exodus from the club, insofar as Martin was offered the Whitehall Rangers job, and a lot of the players that I was playing with, like great Paco, John Rankin out of the Saturday team, Davy Gannan, they were serious players, and then the first team players that left and went across with Martin. So we went into year 2 then with Jimmy, and a lot of fellas were saying, I don't know if Jimmy's quiet, but sure, we went unbeaten in the league, which was great. And then 4 of us got called into. I went up to Ballal, watched the first team against Wayside. There's 12 games left, I'm pretty sure. went home after the match and they got beaten. And there was a phone call and it was Pete Mann. Now, that's a bit surprising, him ringing you. So I went up and then Pete was out talking to me about the game, and there was a lad playing, he was a wide player, Steve Doran, but he was playing right full in the game, and he said to me, how do you think you'd do if you were in at right full? And I said, I think Stephen's more of a wide player. Stephen would have been quicker than me, would have been more physical than me, but Stephen would have a tendency to go to ground easy. Whereas, because I wasn't quick, I was smart enough not to be diving in. I would say a lot of the time. Doesn't mean that I didn't or make mistakes. But anyway, four of us got called into the first team then, and Pete felt we needed to win the last 11 games.
Were you a right full, Peter, or were you
there's a lot of people that argue whether I was one of them. But no, practically most managers that I played for wanted me to play right side.
Were you playing in a different position with the Saturday team?
Would have played would again right full right side, but then Jimmy and Martin both would have pushed me onto to right side. When we say right side, most teams back then played 4-4-2. So I don't know whether you want to call it right midfielder, whether you want to call it right, I would say right winger, but and that was purely because for assisting goals. So I would have had good distribution of the ball. So crossing would have been my biggest strength. So that's why they wanted me further up the pitch. But anyway, forward was there's 11 games and Pete felt that we needed to win the 11 games. This is to win the senior division. And we played Tech away. So another fella that played Stephen Yates. And Stephen Yates was skin covering bone. If you looked at this fella coming out on the football pitch, you'd never think he was a footballer. What a player. Twinkle toes. Quick. Move both ways, really sharp, and a lovely bloke. He's one of Stephen's young lads went across to play in England. Stephen's dead now, Lord of mercy on him. But anyway, Stephen bought I suppose he took a dive for a penalty at the end, and we drew the match. And I'm thinking that's the end of us now. The four of us started getting called into the senior team. Whether we get another run of it now after drawing the match, and then we drew one other match, which was Newbridge at home. We won the rest, and then the lad that I played with at Bluebell, Liam, Glenmore were the team that we were sort of up against for the league that year, and Liam scored for Bluebell in injury time against Glenmore in Bluebell, and we won the league, which was so the magnitude of what you've just done. So for me, I didn't really understand it, to be quite honest, because you although I was like a boy among giants when you're in the dressing room and the whole lot, but for winning that senior division, because you don't realise how hard it is to bloody win it, and it's like it's after coming to you easy, but them players would never allow you to rest on your laurels. Then it was about pushing on and
retaining it and going forward.
Yeah. And then like we won. We didn't win the Metro when I was at Francis. We won the Charlie Carl, the senior division. Won the Saturday Cups, major Saturday, the first couple of years that I was there.
Many years did you spend at Francis?
I'm trying would I have been there 4 years? They went League of Ireland, and when they went League of Ireland, I said to Pete, I wouldn't be able to do that at my job, like getting off work and travelling around the country. But the second team stepped up to the senior division, and we actually just missed out on winning the senior division with the second team. Yeah. And the second team would have been that strong, like even though when you had that exodus of players that went over to Whitehall Rangers, Pete still had that at St. Francis at that time. Him getting more players in never seemed to be an issue. Pete would have, to us it never seemed to be. I'm sure Pete in the background would have been working really hard, would have been on top, but that's his little notebook and taking out of various different players, but he seemed to be able to get players easy enough. Then that League of Ireland thing, I thought was a bad move for the club, because financially, when you're not paying players and you're playing against,
it turned out to be a bad
move. Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Fairness, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, I don't. I think if you were to talk to Pete, I don't think Pete necessarily agreed. I think it was the committee that were pushing it. But anyway, the lads that would have been playing, I suppose, you look at, in particular, I suppose, Paul McNally was playing at the club then. Paul went on to have a great League of Ireland career.
Yeah.
And what a brilliant baller.
Great lad, Paul.
And Paul
was here, wasn't he, at the 25s?
I think there's 35s actually. He was right. I think they won everything, didn't
Yeah, they had the Glackos up here, Glen Crowe playing.
Paul playing?
Yeah, they're all on here and all, yeah.
And when you're watching Paul, everything just seemed easy to, you know. When you're watching him playing, or you're playing with him, everything just seemed to be easy to him. It's like he wasn't even trying, to be honest. But yeah, Paul was very good. But yeah, then Ken Gibbons, another great player that played with Francis. Ken Gibbons and Tony Doyle went to Bluebell, and then there was a few of us from the Francis, from St. Francis, ended up going to Bluebell with Kenny and Tony. Pete was gone from Francis. So
Bowes, was it?
I think Pete went to Bowes then. Yeah. So yeah, we went, and then at Bluebell, sure, Kenny and Tony, I suppose everything that they picked up at St. Francis and the players that were, there was very good players at Bluebell. Alan Bain, Liam Riley. I'm thinking the ones that were there. Now there was a couple of ones that were there as well that would have left, and to me shouldn't have left. They probably felt, because it was, you know, two Francis ex-players coming in as the management team. Maybe they thought they wouldn't have got a fair crack at the whip. I don't know, but at Bluebell under Ken and Tony, yeah, we won. The first year I was there, I ended up, I didn't go up at the start of the season. I went up around Christmas time, and we won the Metropolitan Cup. We beat Glenmore in the Metropolitan Cup, and then going into year 2, we won the Intermediate Cup. We didn't concede a goal all the way to the final, and the keeper went Doolally in the final. And
as keepers do.
It's not like them, is it?
You have a bit of reputation for goalkeepers, do you? Setting up walls.
Say nothing. But they end up needing. That was
They've had some good success with the Intermediate Bluebell, haven't they? The Intermediate
Cup. Really
Cup.
good, sir. Liam,
going back decades, like.
Yeah, Liam and Alan. I'd say, well, Alan won one with Glenmore, I think. So I think Liam has 5 intermediates. He definitely has 4. I think he's 5. But he I'll tell you a good story about him and one of his intermediate medals. But we won the Intermediate Cup.
It was against
St. Mary's and
where were they from?
Cork. So we played them in Dalymount, and your man nearly passed the ball into the net from the halfway line. When after not conceding the goal all the way to the final, and you're thinking, we're into injury time, and we equalised. Alan Bean equalised, and went down to Cork. We won well down in Cork, but a young Ken Hoey was playing in that team. I'd say he was probably 17. Lightning quick, real good player. He went to Rockmount then, and then you look at the success he's had with the junior international. He was European champion with the junior international. I think actually he might have captained that junior international team, did he, in Tallaght?
That won the quadrangle. Was it a quadrangular? Yeah. He might have actually.
I think Ken was the captain.
Could have, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the regions? Was it the regions? Or the quadrangle? I'm not too sure.
Was it? Was it? Yeah, I can't remember. And it was in Tallaght. I live right beside Tallaght Stadium, but and was at it. I don't know what it was called then. But yeah, I was saying to you, like, with the Bluebell team, we were beaten in the quarter final of the FEI Senior Cup. We won down in Sligo in the showgrounds. They were in the Premier Division then, which we got a standing ovation after Sligo faithful, if you like. When the game was over, singing Bluebell coming off the pitch. That's an experience you kind of never forget, to hear it in a away crowd and giving you a standing ovation and singing Bluebell and clapping coming off the pitch was brilliant. And Shelbourne won the double that year. They beat us in a replay in the quarter final, but Kieran Duffy that played for us, he broke his leg in that match, so he obviously missed out then on the run to the final of the Intermediate Cup. When we were travelling home on the bus, Liam called Kieran up to the sea. I was sitting beside Liam, and he handed him his intermediate medal. Said to him, well done, you deserve that morning, mate. Which I thought was a lovely thing to do. Never got a replacement medal for it.
No.
And had no qualms about handing it over to him, which was a lovely touch. But yeah, some great experiences then with Bluebell. We were beaten in the Metropolitan Cup final that year. Moyle Park actually beat us in the final. And then with the run, the league, what would have disappointed me there, if we went out to play Workman Dunleary before the match, there was a bit of pressure on as to where we were going to go at the end of the season for a weekend away. So the committee needed an answer, and there was 2 places that we could have went. Anyway, they picked the Hudson Bay Hotel in that loan. But I was absolutely fuming because this is asked before the match. And to me it was like people's heads were elsewhere. So it was still mathematically possible for us to win the league. Anyway, we didn't. And I never went to Hudson Bay. I was so pissed off about it. But yeah, look, life goes on. Some people wouldn't read into it as much as others, or some people wouldn't upset other people's way. You know, I suppose
everyone's
we all
different.
Yeah,
And
everyone I suppose experiences it a little bit.
yeah, look, I think you can share the same passion with somebody and have the same mentality and standards as somebody, and you could probably take a defeat a little bit better than that same person. You know, that you could probably go and have a point with the lads and have a good time, a good day after being beaten in a final or like losing out to the league, and that same person there that shares your same mentality and standards could probably run off home and not.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make out that I was, you know, like you were just full on with your, and I would have been. I love me football, but sure, who doesn't? You know, those who play it. But some, I suppose, take it that little bit more serious. There'd be aspects of when you're playing, and I suppose when you're in those type of teams, one thing I probably didn't do enough was when you did win something, you didn't celebrate it enough.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, because an ex-Celtic player, I heard, he was talking about his experience in relation to that lad that played in the middle of the park, and he was sort of saying, like, you win a match and then your head was on to, you know, for the next one. And that back then with us was playing, you play Sunday and then on Monday you're looking for that fixture for next week, and the next week then that's all. That's
in the moment, isn't it? Like,
But like when you won something, I go back to the Francis thing. I listened to James talking about them winning and going on a 3-day bender. 3-day benders were weekly for Francis players. These fellas from the Liberties.
Come on.
No. And like, I'd say you'd go up training then. Like you play a match, and I say 3-day benders, you play a match, so go out for points on Sunday, and the next time that they be off a point would be at training. And then they're killing you in training, they're like outrunning you in training, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know, and you think that would be slowing them down, you think that they wouldn't be able for it, and some of them are just, anyway, they're different breed.
Yeah, it's gone now, isn't it?
Do you think though that every club was at that though? Every team would have been kind of a drinking culture, yeah.
Definitely.
And then you couldn't get away with it because there was no one not doing it, so they want ahead, yeah.
I think Gary Neville made a great point there a while, didn't he? He said something on one of the interviews. He said something like, why United started winning things was because Liverpool were always fighting against them. He said, but Liverpool, all the players at Liverpool enjoyed a point. Gary Neville said, like, but all the players at United didn't enjoy a point. If you have 2 points on a weekend, compared to say Liverpool drinking 4 days a week, it was some difference. That's what they think. The sharpness there. They went a little bit further.
Yeah. So even going back to them France Stadium, we train we generally train on a Wednesday and a Friday night. First team would be Wednesday, Friday night, and Friday night. I remember, so Coco's All Fun nightclub, they had a beach party. So all the lads were going to the beach party. So they all had their gear. So we were going to go up to the Clock Tower in Tal, which is just beside where my mum lives. So of course, Pete gets wind that we're all going to this beach party. Now this is a Friday night,
have a game on Sunday,
and the match on Sunday. He was going to get that match called out on Sunday. dressing room got shut closed. He was going to that beach party. That game was off. Anyway, we sort of blagged our way into making them think we weren't. We all went up to the clock tower, and then I can remember there probably 20 odd of us in my mother's kitchen.
In Bermuda shorts on, the sunglasses on.
And we at that time we had a kitchen or we had a fire in the kitchen and an open fire in the living room, and there was clothes drying on the horse in front of the fire, and a pair of my mother's knickers. And Leo decides he'll put them over his head, and you couldn't have timed it better. My mother walks into the kitchen and he has the knickers over his head. And she said, "They always thought you were a bit of an L one anyway for him, man." So of course she got great crack out of that and never let him live it down. But then
he wasn't wearing them.
Oh, yeah. Well, he wore them the odd time. But it's great. The whole experience, I would say, the France with great lads at Bluebell, brilliant bunch of lads at Bluebell, and then you had a different breed of lads then when I went to Belgrave. Pete came back to Leinster Senior League, and then I remember.
Just before you move on there, Peter, how many cups or what did you win there at Bluebell then?
We won the intermediate. We won the Metro. That was the first. You were a runner up in the Metro, and then we won when Ken and Tony finished up. John Cleary took over, and we won a Charlie Cal then with John in John's first year. So
it was a successful spell for you there, all right?
Easy for you to sell.
Yeah, that was a bit tough to get out. So an intermediate, Charlie Catlin and a Metro, so everything. But there was a good mix. As I said to you, there was players there that were at Bluebell, and then there was the influx of players from St. Francis, and so there was a few players there at Bluebell that had that experience of, okay, they hadn't won a league, but they had that experience, intermediate cup. They'd getting over the line to win a trophy.
I don't know how many intermediates Philly Campbell won. I'm guessing 3. That's Philly Campbell, the manager. Subi Campbell was his son that played for St. Pat's. I think Philly would. I think he won at least 3 intermediate cups. He had some great players. You say with Bluebell, like even the rival. And I've skipped on from St. Francis. The rivalries that we would have had Wayside back then. Pete Lennon. And Pete's only finished up in COVID, as you know. So from the time I started in Leinster Senior League, Pete Lennon was managing up in Wayside. They would have been really strong back then. And Cherry Orchard, like John Barman, Stephen Barry, Kevin Corley at the back. Now you go back to the mouthpieces. You listen to them 3 fellas talk that way through again. It was the greatest compliment I could play John Barman. John Barman was one of the best keepers in Leinster Senior League.
It's a bit of a dying breed for the players now, isn't it, to be vocal and
like Stephen's capped at junior international level, decorated as a player. I mean, I'd love to know how many league titles he won, cups. But Stephen to me, if you say like a footballer, Stephen to me wouldn't have been a great baller, but he was a great player, a great defender, and brilliant talker. Kevin Corley was so good at reading the game. And then John at the back. John just talked his way through games. He had very little saves to make because he had his defence so organised. Bill Kenny would have played there.
Yeah.
Sean Hatch. Who did I hear talking about Sean Hatch? It might have been John Scott, was it? John?
Scotty maybe,
yeah. because Sean would have been on the committee of the Leinster Senior League back then. He'd know Sean more from the Leinster Senior League committee as opposed to playing. But they would have been the strong teams in the Leinster Senior League. John Wilkes only passed recently. Like I never played. He only played against John's teams, but by all accounts, you talk to any of the lads that played from him, he was a brilliant manager. He was a seriously decorated manager as well. Same with Pete. Pete won everything that there is to win, and now you'd always sense off Pete how much you wanted to win on the sideline, but like off the pitch, an absolute gentleman, lovely man.
Oh, Finglas man, he's on down the road there, yeah.
Pete, was he?
Yes, from the road, yeah.
Right.
Finglas.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
But real, and when I started managing, Pete would be one that I probably would have spoken to the most.
Nice to have somebody like that, isn't it?
Oh,
That
yeah.
You can confide
Yeah.
in and
He's a good man, yeah.
help in.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
Some
like
advice.
Martin, now Martin would have been quite friendly with my father would have served on the DDSL for, I don't know, maybe 25 years. He would have been a fixture secretary. But so Martin and my father knew each other before I knew Martin. But same with Martin, like I talked to Martin on the phone.
Martin Loughlin.
Yeah. Gary Howley. They would have been, to me, they would have been the ones that I would have spoken to quite regular. And real good people, like. But then going on to with the plane, going on to Belgrave. She's going to Belgrave. What happened? How I end up with, I know Pete and Tony were out there. It's a long way to travel.
This
The
is
train at St.
yeah.
Anne's Park. But we played.
It's a long out trek.
Jim
isn't it?
Kelly was involved with Ballyfermot, and he'd asked me about going down training down in Ballyfermot. Well, I was down training in Ballyfermot in pre-season, and the sort of vibe I was getting there was I knew I wasn't. I needed to shift maybe a half stone. I was thinking at the time, and I'd gone back at that. But
What league are Ballyfermot in? Top division then?
They're going.
Senior,
They were going senior, and when we were in training, I was I wouldn't have been quick, far from it, but I was outdoing everybody in training. And that would have been a concern for me. I know it was early in pre-season, but we played Belgrave then in a pre-season friendly. And sure, Tony was helping Pete. Sure, Tony was on the pitch in me face. You're not signing for this. You come over and sign for us. Come over training. And Tony, get off the pitch, will you?
What league are Belgrave in at this stage?
So Belgrave's the senior
One under.
yeah. And I remember I went over first training session then because it's coming close to the season starting. I went over first training session in the AOL. And Pete, Tony and Kenny Gibbons actually was getting involved with Belgrave then as well. And Pete, the managers finished up. They were going over to the dressing room and all the players stayed behind. And they were all doing core work for 20 minutes when training was over. And then, like, your first impression there, these are hungry for it. So you go second session, same thing, no let up. So and Johnny Prizeman, who played League of Ireland, he might have been I think was he at Bowes with P. But then there was a few others like Darren Mead. Darren Mead was pro at Millwall. Came back, was with Bowes for a bit, and then he's down at. I didn't know Paul Whitmarsh then. Was his ahead of Paul Whitmarsh? No. Paul, he's the best centre forward I ever seen in the Leinster Senior League. And I played at France when Brendan Tono was there, Ben Arbone was there. Paul Whitmarsh, without question, was the best centre forward I've seen in the Leinster Senior League. And I've seen some great ones. I know Dean on the podcast was talking about that he scored 40 odd goals at Crumlin. That was when they won the quadruple. So I was assistant to Liam at Bluebell when they beat us in the final. They beat us in the final in Tala, yeah. And we came runner up in the league. And I think Dean was saying he scored 40 odd goals Whitmarsh. I remember going down to training in St. Anne's Park and you're doing 2v2s, 3v3s. This fella's taking balls down on his chest. He's volleying balls into both left foot, right foot, headers. Absolutely off the charts. His young lad, he might have been captain of Cork, 18, 19 years of age. He only signed for Southampton there recently. He's 3 boys. I think the 3 of them are capped for Ireland. He's English.
Underage.
Yeah, he was on the books at West Ham when he was a young fella. Paul was. So like, I've never even heard of him, and you're down at Belgrave and we're in training, and then you're going into pre-season matches and you're watching this fella playing. He's just so good. There was another fella, Paul Knight. He played under 4 managers at Newcastle.
Doesn't it just go to show you what sort of levels are in football? You're at the top level of amateur football here playing, and then there's this chap that's at the being away in England, in Millwall. You say Millwall, he was in the books at West Ham. That he's
sorry, Darren was Millwall, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And he had a pro contract at Millwall, and Paul was on the books at West Ham.
Of West Ham, and he's blowing you away at amateur level, and then I just can't cut it quite at professional level. Just didn't get there. So can you imagine what it is, the gap?
The gap between them, yeah.
Amateur, like, there's just so many levels to it, isn't there?
Yeah,
It's so hard.
there's like that. The argument you say with the League of Ireland players, give them a go in the senior team. as in the Republic of Ireland team, it's just worlds apart.
No,
Miles. There's a massive gap.
The probably only one that you probably would have said that would have been Glenn Crowley a couple of years ago when he was banging the goals. Jason Bourne in around that and Gago, wasn't it? Like kind of players that you bring from the League of Ireland in. Now I don't think anyone would touch that. Jack Bourne probably from Rovers, I think he was touching
But
it as
even
well.
with that, if you look at Jack, and I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
But he went away then. You think like the Cyprus, and
Yeah,
didn't seem to work out. You look at a couple of lads that went away from Rovers, that didn't, and that's not to say that they're not great players.
No, of course.
Just the stats, even the training wise and everything else, physicality wise, it's totally different.
Yeah. But these lads at Belgrave, I knew Ian. I would have known Anthony Doyle because I played with his father, and that's Tony Doyle that I mentioned was at Francis, and then he was assistant manager.
There,
Tootsie.
yeah. I remember
Tootsie,
seeing him play a few times. I played against them actually. Yeah.
So Tootsie
Rovers,
and Ian played for the Guards, and then they come to Belgrave. So I knew the two of them, and then myself and Kieran Duffy. I played with Kieran at Bluebell and at Francis, and going in, as I said, when you don't know that many players, it was near the start of the season. Sure, there was a fella playing right side for Belgrave, Ian Fitzpatrick. What a player! This other fella on the other side, Gally, he turn you inside out, upside down, brilliant. And I'd never seen the chap playing before. Never even heard of him.
And these are a league under from what you've been playing for the last few years.
Yeah, these are a league under. And then, with the season starting, I remember this lad, I was on the bench, and he said to me, warming up, you have to go dropping down from senior division, and you got managers looking for you to play senior division, and why are you hanging around here? And I suppose experience teaches that, where you're saying with Ian Cherry and Ian Fitz, I kept saying to Robbie, yeah, but come the business end of the season, give it time. Well, you'll get chances. It's up to you to take your chance to get onto the pitch, and hopefully one of them will be sitting on the bench. But anyway, as it turned out, when it came to the latter part of the season, I got in on the right side. Ian Fitz would have been, when I say struggling, I don't mean struggling, but I was doing that a little bit better to play. And the reality is then, and how it all works out, when I pinched my cartilage, Ian went on down in Cork, and then when we played a replay, he was brilliant in the replay. But he's, again, a great player where squad comes into it. And that Belgrave team, every single manager in the land, which I couldn't understand, because it's not like they're watching Rockmount every week. Although Rockmount had some great players to their team. We mentioned Ken, Rory Beechner was a centre forward. He's an FAI Junior International, but Rockmount had great players all around the pitch. But there'd have been more a chance in Leinster Senior League managers seeing us than seeing Rockmount, and every manager wrote us off when we're going to play them to find. We drew down in Cork, and we beat them in the replay in Dublin. And then that team, that's sort of 03. Crumlin were in Senior 1 then. So it was between Crumlin, Malahide and ourselves. So we now go to the last match of the season in the league. We've already won the league, and we're playing Malahide away.
And we scout that to be a Senior 1 team to win the intermediate and
win
the league.
And that, I know that has been done since, but it was unusual back then. Yeah.
It was kind of unusual when Maynooth done it as well. Like they would have been massive underdogs anyway going into that intermediate final. But although they did kind of run away with the league, it was still a massive thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you'll probably ask me later on or touch on it in relation to payment of players, but in the amateur game then, when you see like where you have a Senior 1 team doing that, like there would have been talk of Belgrave and money. Belgrave had money, but players didn't get paid. You know, I was involved in management. I'd know first hand players didn't get paid, but there was always that talk of it. We were playing our league games in Talca Park, which was great every second week, but that cost us a league in the end. So that's going into the player system.
There?
So the ground got sold out in Clontarf.
That's where Belgrave were. They were in Clontarf.
Yeah.
Before going to Whitehall.
Yeah, Zoe Developments, Lee and Carroll, that became Danager, they bought that ground out there. Was that Mount Prospect Avenue that the pitch was on? I think it was Mount Prospect. But anyway, they built apartments on that pitch. So Belgrove are cash rich.
And you weren't paying players like a few quid?
No. So the talk would have been.
That's what I hear, that they're paying the players now.
Belgrove were the team that paid a few years back.
Well, I must go back and ask them for me toll money.
Maybe no one told you.
Money. Yeah. And then I was travelling across the play.
Were you going driving over or?
Yeah, so I would have went even when we trained in St. Anne's Park. I worked in town, so when I was leaving in the morning at 7:30, you're in, you do your day's work, and then you travel out to St. Anne's Park. If the gate was open, I'd go in and start training. Yeah,
it's a lot of dedication though, you know, for especially one under the top though, you know.
Yeah, and you're getting home like 11, I'd be getting home 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, a lot of dedication. And that was you trained twice a week, or?
But it's easy to do when you have a group doing it with you.
Yeah.
It's a real easy thing to do, I think, when you're with a group that are all like, there would have been times there when we were training with Belgrove, and that's all you say, like cash rich, St. Anne's Park, and you go out St. Anne's Park, and St. Anne's Park is off.
Yeah.
So where are we gonna train? So you went into the school, and then there was the gate into the ground that was sort of sectioned off, whether that was part of the school grounds at St. Anne's Park. So there's times we got in the car and drove down to Northside Shopping Centre, and there was a pitch across the road, Northside Shopping Centre, and what we were relying on was the cars coming out of the shopping centre shining their lights onto the back of the pitch. And you wouldn't hear one player moan.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear one player give out. And never, this isn't right, start complaining, why are we not training on an Astro, why have we not got proper facilities? And we wouldn't hear you'd hear Pete apologising, but there'd be no need for apology.
Yeah.
Because you did a session, all Pete's sessions were great, even if that meant you were running for the whole session, but they were all great. You always kept it interesting. But yeah, we got to the last game of the season. That kind of leads on to when I was finishing, we Malahide away. I was injured. I was telling you I pinched my cartilage before the final down in Cork, and I was supposed to have an operation. I was watching the match with my mum, and I was standing in line at the 18-yard box. So if we win that match against Malahide, we have an invincible season. We go unbeaten, right? And it's 1-1, and it's coming near the end of the game, and their centre half makes a foul, and he makes it outside that D at the 18-yard box, and their player falls into the D. And the referee gives a penalty.
What?
And I'm standing in line with this, my mother beside me, and the linesman is over the far side, and he's flying. And the referee is telling him, put it down. So he's obviously trying to get his attention that it wasn't in the box. And of course the players are irate. Anyway, the match is over. Gone into the dressing room afterwards. Not the end. And the funny thing is, you had to win the Intermediate Cup. You had the League One. And the disappointment in the dressing room because we didn't go unbeaten. And went out to the car. And the referee, as it turned out, came out to his car. And I would have been quite friendly with him, you think. When I say quite friendly with him, in that you knew him well, you were playing then, and you would have known referees.
Yeah, as you do, you can build a relationship over the years. Yeah.
And you're 10, 11 years playing in the division, so you'd like to think they know you at that stage. But anyway, I said to him, what were you thinking? What were you thinking giving that penalty? Did you really think that was a penalty? And he says to me, well, it's like the spear. Who do you want to see get promoted with you? And I said, I couldn't care who gets promoted.
Yeah.
I said, I probably would think that Crumlin were the stronger of Crumlin and Malahide. Well, he said, it's like this. I hate Crumlin. And that's why I get that penalty. So that always made me a little bit suspicious then.
This where your love-hate relationship came with referees, was it?
You say, like, for the most part, and you go through then when you're stepping into management. Now, that particular referee would have kind of become a head figure amongst the referees. And my concern there would always be, I hope he does get to influence them like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, when even I'd say playing and then into management, like, officials, you'd be emotional on you're at the working tirelessly, whether that's pre-season, getting prepped for match day, and you look at the effort the players are putting in. A referee can make a mistake, but players make mistakes, managers make mistakes, we all make mistakes. But there was always a little bit of an undercurrent where, because of that incident, that always kind of made me a little bit suspicious of what would be going on. But for the most part, no, I'd say most of them are great.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have an issue. Yeah, from time to time, you might lose your composure for whatever reason, or you feel decisions. With one actually up until IT, and there was an offside given, and of course you flag it with the ref. He's not even close to offside, and because you've called it across the pitch. When the referee, it was Deco tried, the referee. Deco come out and he said, "Will you calm down, will you?" And I'm going, "Deco, he's not even close to offside." And I said, "You know what's going to happen next now? Because I called it. He's going to put it up the next time when it's not offside." And of course, ball gets played through. He's not offside. Flag goes up again. So what did I tell you, Deco? Deco starts off on a march across the pier. And I go, "It's all right, I'm going." He goes, come back, I'm not sending you off. I just don't want you. I said, "Doesn't matter, I can't watch any more of that." Right? And he says, "Where do you go?" I said, "I'm going around there, I'm going to stand behind him. You might feel under a little bit of pressure to stand behind him." And he goes, "Don't open your mouth and you're over there, you're going to the dressing room." I go, "Oh, don't open your mouth." Anyway, that happened to be against Killester. We got a penalty at the end. And we won the match. Jerry Davis was the manager. Jerry went onto the pitch afterwards. Jerry went mad. He went mad at the referee. He goes, "That wasn't a penalty. You get that penalty. He put you under pressure for that."
Did you say that?
Think with the different emotions. You know, referee makes a decision. Of course, if it's for us, we think it's great. We'll agree with them. We think it's great. Yeah. You know yourself. They're not. One team's going to be happy. The other one isn't. And I'd say, for me, the hardest part for a referee, and you've got a ref and a linesman. For me, the hardest part, some of the rules and some of the stuff is subjective. And so, like, if I ask you, I was saying to you before we started, I went out to watch under 18 Premier match on Sunday. Swords against Mount Merrion. And Swords' first 3 goals are penalties. And I'd argue all day that 2 of them 3 weren't penalties. But like, if I ask you what's a handball, if I ask you to explain a handball,
different
you
things,
ask me to explain a handball, my interpretation, your interpretation, sure, you only have to watch you have to watch the telly.
You could have a debate now with what's a handball, can't you? If 3 of us are sitting watching a game in a pub and it's a handball and a penalty, yeah, you could have 3 different.
So we've played the game for years,
yeah,
and we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So like, you cannot imagine what it's like for them. So another barmy rule was like, you're running in on goal, keeper saves it, deflects back up, it hits you in the arm. Now your arm's down by your side, and it falls down into your path, if you like, and you kick it into the goal. It's not a goal because it hit your hand.
Yeah.
Run in 5 minutes later and do the exact same thing. You hit your hand and it deflects to your teammate and he kicks it in. It is a goal. Who makes them rules up?
But they say natural position there, so your natural position when you're running, it's away from your body. So no one has their hands right beside their body running. So they say, "Oh, his natural position is beside him." It's not. You're moving your body, your hands are up. So
and depending on how much you're shifting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
for me, my hands could be everywhere the way I'm shifting. But yeah, so like some of the rules, you nearly feel sorry for them. Like on Saturday, I said to you, like, Air team, I wouldn't have Air team play offside when we were playing a Saturday game. Yeah. And the same with Air, I'd encourage where there's a player always on the cover when we're with under 18s.
Yeah.
So ref standing in the middle of the pitch. He's not going to be able to get both lines right.
And you need the linesman there to help him. So it's not on the ref either. Like, obviously there's the shortage of refs in the DDSL as well, but you said you just don't leave up the chance. Always drop the 5 yards. That's what I say. You're saying the same thing there, but a lot of teams seem to step right up, ball up top, and scream for offside. The ref doesn't give it, they're on the ref's back. The ref obviously then is against you, then, you know.
So you imagine yourself on your own trying to get that right.
Yeah.
If you're standing in the middle of 2 teams playing, you're trying to get an offside right, the ball gets an offside down that end, then it's ping down that end.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, they've got a difficult job, and I'd appreciate that. But sometimes, like when they have a bad day, and I think when they've made if you like a howler, that really impacts the game.
Did you serve any suspensions like old John Scott? Because you mentioned you, as you said to me, Lonnie, you mentioned you when he was up.
I was listening to that
board,
Scotty. Scotty went in and Scotty ended up getting a suspension. Then he was saying the league
It
told
was
him.
hard done, boy. Though wasn't he like the length of the band that he got? No.
Oh, is it?
I suppose I'd be commenting on something that when I said you don't know the full ins and outs of. So
from what
if
we were led to believe, or what Scotty told us, he was kind of he got like a 6-month ban.
Yeah. Like I'm see if you think like with suspensions I wouldn't have got any long suspension if you got a game or you got 2 games. But like the league as it stands now, part of the thing that I don't get if teams have VO is that it's kind of clear cut. You can hear what's been said. You can see the actions, and you're not allowed to use it.
Yeah,
I don't agree with that. But
obviously just to use it to show and to say, look, you were wrong. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but there's a part of this whole thing where you say like what that goes on in football matches. Look, don't get me wrong.
At the end of the day, it is amateur football, isn't it? And
but if
facilities and we don't have.
But if you're European, if he went, say he gets fined with something or caught with something there or banning, but if I appeal it, I should be able to bring my evidence to the table as appealing it, if it's video, pictures or whatever.
I do think, because I had an incident as it was just tore me off football, like Baba down in the Astro rings, and you can clearly hear me talking to the referee about the off the ball incidents that he needs to deal with. I'm looking at him watching it, and he's not dealt with it, and I'm worried that that's going to flare up, and it did. And then Baba was accused of headbutting the referee. Never happened. Like, I went off the Irish Town Garage Station after, and the guard said, "Look, there's nothing I can do for it." I said, "Well, can you put it on the record that I was here, because the referee is talking about, being assaulted." And then there was a report in relation to I waited in the car park for the referee. I wasn't waiting in the car park for the referee. I was waiting to speak to St. Pat's. And the reason I was waiting to speak to St. Pat's was because it was a St. Pat's committee member who said it to me. And I wanted to see, there would have been CCTV footage even then from the dressing room. I had to drive down to them dressing rooms so you could get CCTV footage. As to where I was in the car park, I had no conversation with the referee after the game. But there a couple of big ones, and that might paint a picture, but if you think of all the games which is a poor picture, but if you think of all the games that you were involved in, I wouldn't have had a bad disciplinary record as a player. I would have thought I'd probably sent off a handful of times. And then as a manager, you're getting sent off. As I said to you, like, I could argue that we're putting a lot into preparing for the game, but they put a lot into preparing for the game. I know a lot of them referees do down the altitude chambers and keeping on top of their fitness and their preparation for games, but
I think they're through a bit of a stricter regime now, aren't they, with the Leinster Senior League, that they have to go to certain training camps and things like that, don't they?
Yeah, but they're probably taking that aspect of it a little bit more serious as well. But a lot of the clubs are too, aren't they? In terms of how they prepare for matches, that's come on. It's a lot. Like that FAI Connect is brilliant.
Yeah, it's good. You got down a rabbit hole with that, don't you?
Brilliant.
Yeah, you've done like you start one team, they end up in another league altogether. Like
it's very good. It's great. Yeah.
I should even then touch on you think with the Munster Senior League, and certainly when I was manager, I'd be watching stuff, and keeping regular contact with Tig down there and stuff. That'd be how different teams are doing down there, and sort of if you come up against a Cork team or someone was asking you about a particular Cork team, if you needed to get information on them, whether that was, well, there's times I often drove down anyway to watch a team before we played them, but
yeah, look, you can trace back the starting 11 from the start of the season.
But this FAI Connect, I think, is brilliant.
no more bangers.
Yeah, well, look, it's tightening things up, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I think with them being strict and with the refs being strict, I know there was probably not one or two, but probably a handful of forced games of the season called
off.
like literally before kick-off because they hadn't filled the card out right on the
Castleknock against Montpellier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
First game of the season.
There was a couple more as well on the first night of the season starting. So it's definitely the strictness, I think, that the leagues, not just Leinster Senior League, but all leagues need in terms of things like that. And you just have to be on the ball with the likes of registration.
One there even I heard in the last week where they hadn't got it uploaded. So then just before the match they had the 11.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the subs.
Right.
So the game actually got started. Don't ask
I heard
me.
this,
The game got started. But then one of the subs scored as well. So, but who were the subs?
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that's going to be a problem for
protesting or whatever it may be. Yeah, look, it's fourth season there. It's going to cause a little bit of friction either way, isn't it? There's loopholes or whatever.
And if they tighten up on that, that's a major positive, because it's a major positive in to me into creating that whole level playing field. Yeah, because I mean, if you're trying to do your business properly as a club and then you feel that you're going out to a game and you don't know what you're playing, like you don't recognise some of the players. Who's this body?
Yeah.
Who's that body? And you would find from, and I'm not saying that they were playing illegal players, but you'd find if you went to a team outside of Dublin,
they could probably get away with it.
They could probably get away with it, but the other side of that is they also would have had lads that played Gaelic, and maybe the Gaelic was off, and you haven't seen them. You might have seen that team 3 times.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a fella playing for him and you're looking for him and he's a beast, and you're looking at him, he's a beast and flying fit and he's doing great in the game, and going, where did he pop about?
The lads down the country there, Brian and I was saying that they got to the final or something, and then there was a car final on the same day. Sure, he ended up losing it because half the team was missing.
That's right, yeah.
Because half car and half soccer.
Yeah, so there's an example of that. So I'm saying where you would, I suppose, you go back 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you wouldn't know. Whereas with this whole setup now, to me, it would help create.
It's progressing, yeah.
So we go back to Belgrove there, obviously, and how did you finish up there? What was the step after that?
So we got promoted. Then into Tony's first year as manager, and I was assistant, obviously.
So you stepped in as
I was player assistant and then stepped in as assistant.
Yeah.
We were playing in Talca Rovers and or Talca Park, and it came to our last match of the season, and we had Wayside, and Wayside were going for the league. They were in a strong position, and Ollie Bourne was chairman then, and Pat Fenlon was the manager, and Pat didn't want us playing on the pitch anymore. Didn't want the pitch getting damaged.
It was in bits all year round.
And in fairness, when we were using it, it would have been in good condition. But he didn't want us on the pitch, and we had to play our last league game out in the AUL. And funny, Tony thought we needed to win it, and I felt the draw would have been enough. I think Wayside had 3 more games after that. But we had a lad playing in the middle of the park, and there was a fella playing left full, Anto. And I tell you this, I said to him, Anto, see the way he shows in the middle of the park, his body shape doesn't be right for him. He said, I often habit letting the ball past him.
Let him run and try to get a touch after.
And he doesn't have pace. And he gets that wrong, they're straight in the air defence. So no matter what, in this game, don't throw that ball in there. Second half, he throws the ball in there.
Opens his body, lets it go, boy.
They pick up possession. Might have been Sailor, and passed the ball through John O'Neill, and John O'Neill scored 2-1. And Wayside won their remaining games and pipped us for the league, which would have been great for Tony, I suppose, his first year as the manager of Belgrove. They pipped us for the league.
Fourth year up as well. I don't think anybody has done that, have they? Gone on the win senior Sunday.
I don't recall that happening, because Crumlin came up with us in the end. Ended up being a playoff or second in Mocktus ground. We beat them in Mocktus ground then, the playoff or second. And when Tony stepped away, Rocky O'Brien took over as manager, so I think that's around 2005. And I was working in Clonmel. So I was driving up, at the start I was driving up for training from Clonmel. Then I'd stay up in Dublin, drive back down 5 in the morning, going back for work. And I was doing that first couple of weeks, and we only had our first young child. And then I said, that's not sustainable.
Oh.
So I finished up, and I wasn't involved then. I was involved then for a couple of seasons, and then I got back involved with Bluebell as assistant manager with Liam. Liam was a great manager. You could say, unfortunately, just come up against that really, really strong Crumlin team, the team that won the quadruple. Yeah, he was real good. He ended up doing shift work then after that, Liam. To me, he would have been a loss to football. He's great knowledge of the game. Great, he was a great player himself. And as I said, when Liam finished up then at Bluebell, I finished up with him, and then it was the big step into management. One of Liam's great. He came out with some belters, but we're in the dressing room at half time as a lad. I'm great mates with him. Graham Dunning, so was Liam. There's a few of us still go away golfing together.
Very good, yeah.
Even after all this time, we're going away next June. But Liam says to him at half time, he didn't like anyone moving when he was talking. And of course, Dunning's there with the Vic and he's rubbing around the jersey. And Liam says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm rubbing Vic on my jersey." "For what?" He says, "It helps me for me breathing." And he says, "Well, you want to rub it on your arsehole because you're breathing out with the whole first half." So that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Sure, nobody spoke after that, so everyone just laughing. Yeah, you want to rub a bit on your arsehole. Very good. But yeah, that would have been all the great experiences of management and playing.
So obviously you've been vocal enough on social media about the Leinster Senior League and stuff like that, and represent the squads. What's your take on that?
It just would have been where, so like at Sacred Heart, for example, there was a coach in there with me. Paul worked for the he doesn't work for the FUA anymore. Paul's finished his A licence. Do you think if you've got coaches? So I only did Kickstart 1. It was Kickstart 1 when I did it. It was Kickstart 1 and Kickstart.
So they're changing
PDP.
They're changing again.
Yeah, it's getting scrapped.
Okay.
Every year, every couple of years, they change it.
So I actually did that with Liam and another lad, Wayne Kelly, that was at Bluebell at the time, involved in the second team. Wayne manages the league slip now at the minute. But I think from the point of view that if you're going and you're putting the time and effort into doing those bad, and your coaching pathway, if you like, in the coaching program, that some of these jobs aren't advertised. So what's the point in you paying all that money and investing all your time when somebody can walk in like that? At the time, the Munster job would have been advertised, and in that advertisement they would have had a minimum requirement in terms of your qualifications. Mm-hmm. That job wasn't advertised for anyone in Leinster. Like Brian got the job. On what basis? Because he was recommended? That shouldn't happen. In this day and age, that shouldn't happen. Like I would even go back to, you could say it's a very difficult one if we're talking about even payment to players. So where we're looking for, we say about, we're just touched on the FEI Connect and helping create a level. We know it's not a perfectly level, and it never will be. There's competition there. Some teams are stronger than others. Grand. But like, if you're going down, I totally disagree with the payment to players. It's now lopsided in that amateurism in its purest form. To me, it's all about your passion for the game, as opposed to you playing for the Euros. So even I'll give an example then when I was at a club where lads are talking to me about subs and they don't want to pay subs because they had to be in that team that paid players.
Yeah.
Now they're being asked to pay subs and they don't want to contribute to the club's coffers. So how do you think you're going to keep on the lights? Where's going to pay for your training base? Like if you're talking about, I hear people saying about £10 a week. So is that what you do here, £10 a week?
We play installments, but lads also sell lottos, which goes into the club, and then a few quid into the kitty for them at Christmas
time.
time.
There's a registration now, like of say a registration of, I don't know what it is,
What's a hundred?
It's probably
Oh, which
200
covers
quid,
your insurance. Okay.
which covers everything. So
So
if
that's
you
a
have
club
small-
registration?
300.
Club
Okay.
registration would be
300.
300
quid,
say,
yeah.
for the year, and they'll do it in an installment, and they'll
Okay.
take it out of your bank or whatever it may be. But that's your subs basically. That's
Because
your
like
tenner.
I'd just say like what fellas say about 10 a week. Oh, 10 a week's not enough. If you've 18 players in the dressing room at the weekend, that's €180 and you're playing at home.
barely pay the refs.
Much as our officials.
Mm.
So like, a tenner's not going to cover it. And like, you've got working men. Thankfully, most of the people, going back when I started playing football, there's a lot of people in the dressing room that didn't work. But nowadays, most people do. Okay, you'll have a lad that's going to college or whatever else, and then you could say, well, he can't really fund. No, hold on, my young fella has to pay his registration fee. I have to pay for it. And I have to pay for that out of my pocket. No volunteer at any club should be lying awake at night thinking how we're going to play the electricity bill.
Yeah.
Because you've got a few players at the club that won't contribute or are doing their best not to contribute, and putting obstacles in the way. Like, we had a situation where my young lad played at Talatown. His team folded. A couple of them went to League of Ireland, and some of them went at the time up to St. Francis. So the team folded anyway. They were in a lower league, and there was 5 of them went up to a higher league up to St. Francis. And or up to the top league. So when I was up at Sacred Heart after that amalgamation, the under 15 manager or under 16 manager at the time, under 15 I'm going to say it was, Tommy, he said, your lad play for Taltown. All the lads obviously say your lad play for Taltown. That team's at the falling. Who's he playing for? He's not playing for anyone. He hasn't done anything yet. So he was asking about him coming up. So I said, I'll say it to him. I said, I'm going to tell Tommy I don't have no influence over. He makes that decision. If he comes up and he trains, he likes it, he'll sign. But that'll be on him. Anyway, there was another kid that played in that Talatown team. And after a couple of months, I said, there's a lad playing, and there's a couple of them gone League of Ireland, and I actually think this kid that's not playing, to me, the matches I watched, I'm not saying he was the best player, but for the matches I watched, he seemed to be right up there, right? And he lived right beside the football club. So I said to him, he's not playing football. And he goes, he's in his room and he's just on the Xbox, and I don't think he wants to play football. I said, Tommy, did you speak to his mother? I don't think the father's around. And he goes, no. I said, well, get down and speak to his mother. I said, his mother probably can't afford the fees.
Yeah.
So I would say, even about in these clubs where they're paying players, which relates to this, surely help that. She's a woman who's trying to rear her kids. Surely help that kid with his fees and have him playing football instead of playing some senior fella that has a job.
Yeah.
And you're giving the money to them, or reinvest it into your club's facilities.
Into the schoolboys or something.
That's where most times in clubs like that, the schoolboys do suffer. So the club, obviously, then I'm not going to mention clubs there, but they drain everything from their schoolboys into their senior team, just to push them a bit forward there. And the fundraising on for the schoolboys, bang, out into the senior team straight away. So your basis should be your schoolboys, and that's what's going to create your seniors over the next few years. That's what we're trying to do up here as well. Create a good schoolboys, feeders into the seniors, and hopefully for the next 10-15 years we'll be strong enough to do it. But you have to start in the grassroots, like
100%.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it is, you put all that time and investment into a lad that's playing from the under ages right up to your under 18s, and he goes into the senior setup and he's a really good player.
it's a pathway, yeah.
Yeah, and then one of these teams comes in and says,
here's a few quid.
I'm going to throw you a few quid.
Yeah.
And he's gone out the gate.
Yeah.
So like, where you're saying about the level, but you're trying to do everything.
Do it the right way, yeah.
Yeah. So the problem that would have been there for the team like Firhouse Clover, even though they had a great run in the senior setup. But if you look at what they won major Saturday and Sunday senior, like I've mentioned what we won when I was there. But like Alan Griffin won a Metropolitan Cup, Niall Bourne won a Charlie Cale Cup. But they're big trophies for the club that's small, if you like, and only gone for a small period of time or a short period of time. If the issue that you'd have, I think, with Firhouse Clover is that it'll be cyclical, in that you might get a good group in together for a period of time, And then if you lose them,
Disband,
what
yeah.
have you got coming in behind it? You need a bit of luck with what's coming in behind it. Whereas if you are trying to do it from underage up, now you might have a strong 18s. Like James,
Foundation.
yeah,
It's a pathway though. That's what we're trying to do from our academy. So as I said before on the podcast, I think there's 90% of our first team players are three senior teams have all come through our academy. So they've all started in the academy under 5s, 4s and came through the whole system.
which is brilliant.
Yeah, so that's why we're trying to keep that going as well, you know.
So if you're looking at say Crumlin, James, did he win the senior division in his first year? Did he?
First year.
Yeah. So then James got relegated. When I say James got relegated, the club got relegated, right? So you think he's gone from top of the pile, and then you think them getting relegated would be an absolute disaster. But the thing is, if you're looking at Crumlin, they're 19s, they're 18s, they're 17s. So they're 17 majors. They were in the same league as us last year. I think they won the 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won the 17 major. So they certainly promote. They're in 18 Premier now. There's still going to be a number of players that are coming through, whether it's 19s, 18s.
To make them stronger, yeah.
And so you would feel that there's a good chance that they'll bounce back.
Yeah.
But then, as I said to you, because Crumlin would have been very much in the spotlight, and with players that have done well at Crumlin are strong players, the problem that James is going to have is, and not so much even you say with the League of Ireland, then the payment of players in the Leinster Senior League. So the sound bites that were put out there from the Leinster Senior League a few years ago would have been, we're going to come down strongly on any team paying players. Do you remember seeing that on social media? Because I do.
The thing put out,
Somebody had
yeah.
commented that
There's no
That's the league said put out there, yeah.
Right, they put it in writing, like
They put it out on social media.
Really?
They,
Yeah, I didn't see that.
So they were going to come down on teams paying players. Okay, so that was the sound bites being made.
just to probably show that they're making a bit of noise about it. Would you reckon?
Yeah, but I think you're better off saying nothing.
Yeah,
And to the best
because
of my
nothing's
to the
gonna
best of my
happen.
knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, there's actually nothing they can do about it.
Yeah,
Even if they
because there's no proof.
even if
there's
they
no-
can prove it.
Yeah.
I don't think there is under FEI rules a specific rule that you can't pay a player.
Is there something in the
No,
rule
I'm
that
going to
there's an
open another
expense?
can of worms because
Expenses, yeah.
Can you do it? Is there something in
empathy
the FEI rule
tolls
that
and
you
stuff.
can pay an expense? Am I right by saying
Petrol
that?
money and all, yeah.
well, there might be something like that. So
Nice money for petrol money.
Yeah,
for whatever
yeah,
they're all
yeah.
getting.
But like if you're at that particular time, so Andy was the Leinster Senior League manager, right? He had Shane Stritch, brilliant player, centre forward for Bluebell, and Shane leaves Bluebell and goes to Edenderry.
Edenderry, yeah.
Now Shane lives in Sea West, which is roughly about 7 minutes from Bluebell with no traffic. Now he's hardly going to Edenderry because he likes driving, or he likes the pitch down there, because I don't think the Bluebell pitch is too bad. So Andy's manager, and now Andy loses a player, and this wouldn't be a comment. This is an observation. Now Andy loses that player, he goes down to Edenderry, but then when Andy's picking his Leinster Senior League team, Shane Stritch is in it. So we know he's getting paid, and Shane Stritch is in that team. Now the question you'd ask then, if you were going to make the sound bites about it, you're kind of making that situation awkward, because maybe should you not be saying, well, hang on, you lost Shane Stritch and you're bringing him as a paid to get player, and we're trying to advocate that players shouldn't be paid in the league. And then the other side of that is, who helped Andy when they went to Galway to play in the tournament? That's another.
What do you mean?
Who went in as his assistant?
Right, who's that?
That would have been another manager of a team where there was massive
paying.
questions about the payment of the player.
Right.
Then we're talking about them getting jobs in the league, top jobs in the league. Even this whole thing about Oscar Traynor team, and if you win the Saturday League, your team will represent the Oscar Traynor. I absolutely, totally, and they could argue that they had a year where they were struggling with getting players out to represent. Why were you struggling? why was that particular manager struggling? I'd love to hear that. I don't know the full ins and outs of that, but I totally disagree with the team winning.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like that rule myself.
What an honour to
well, it was an honour back when we played. Anyway, back in then, like it was a representative was an honour.
Yeah, so
so why is it not now?
When I started playing with St. Francis and we played against the Christy Lockheed was the manager, the Oscar trainer team. We played them in Dalton Park, and a few of us got picked for it. Sure, you're feeling 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
In the league that you're playing in. And yeah, if that's been recognised,
that's one of the best players in it,
you're getting represent the league in the tournament.
It's lost its appeal, I think, now, hasn't it? As a representative, like I think when the LSL representative squad gets announced for to go over to Scotland and things like that, it's like it's at the losing its fad. Where back then it was an honour for, like with the AUL team, it was a bit of an honour for it.
But did we not cause a problem? When I say did we not cause a problem, we're all part of the league. Not by I was, but did not cause a problem there where, for argument's sake, I'm manager of Firhouse Clover, I get the job, and all of a sudden now I'm trying to sign players, and the little sort of carrot for them is, listen, I'm the Leinster Senior League manager, come and sign here, I'll make sure you're in that squad.
Yeah.
So I would say, why not try an ex-manager as the Oscar trainer?
This is, sorry for cutting across you, but this is where I wanted to get back to when you said there your comment that nothing is advertised, and you said that Brian came in to take over the Leinster. Who do you think should go and get that job for that? Like a personnel of somebody who has played, say for instance, a Martin Loughlin or a Gary Howlett that's not affiliated now as managing. Are they the sort of people you're kind of talking about?
You
think should get it?
Well, I think what I would say to you is, you've got those ex-managers, so yes, they have experience, so you can put that in as a qualification that you've done X amount of years, say in the senior division, in the amateur game. So that can be part of the quality. Doesn't necessarily have to be. He has to have a minimum B license.
The criteria on the Munster one, what was that? Was the B license?
From memory was B.
Yeah.
From memory, had to have a B or
would that be the manager or the coach and staff? Someone on the coach staff?
That was for the manager.
For the manager himself.
But then you could argue there's ways around that. So like there's no
manager in LSL that has an A license.
So Brian is possibly one.
The coaches have.
Yeah.
That's not my argument. My argument is not Brian getting the job. Yeah. My argument is
the process.
Mm-hmm. And then, so if you're asking the question in relation to what manager or what criteria, or if you're looking at, I'm not saying the next manager has to get it, but I think that would be worth exploring. And if you're going down then the coaching qualifications, well, what qualification? Jerry Smith got the FEI Junior Cup, or the FEI Junior management position. But like, if you look back at what Jerry would have been doing his coaching badges from memory. When I played, in France is my first year, we played against Vianney boys that were favourite to win that cup, and we beat them out there. That might have been the quarter final, and Jerry was very much I focused on doing his badges from memory then. Jerry Davis the same.
So would you think the calibre of somebody like Jerry Smith and Jerry Davis that have them UEFA A licence or UEFA A Elite and things like that, they're the type of personnel that need to be in there?
So for argument's sake, that job came up again, what would be wrong with one of them getting it? For all they've given to the game, what would be wrong with one of them getting it? I don't see anything wrong with one of them getting it. They're not, from what I gather, I don't think either of them are involved in the game now. Now, they might want it, but I think, why not try? Just a thought, but I absolutely disagree with it not being advertised. I absolutely disagree with no interviews.
Interviews, yeah.
That has to change. That type of thing has to stop. In order to make it better for everyone. At least you feel that you have a chance.
Even if you gave the interviews and you're saying to yourself, they're just doing this just to please people there, but as you said, it's just someone sitting around. Right, we just go for him. We just go for him. I don't know how do you pick people, even just to appease people. Just put a couple of interviews on, just to keep. Like, that's what you should be doing.
And I'm sure, even on Brian's behalf, I'm sure it's even a hard task for Brian, because he's going to be on the other end of the stick from, say, people being vocal and say calling him out for things like that. But how is Brian? He's obviously walks and things like that. How is he going to get around Leinster to see these other players? You know what I mean? So there's lads like kind of giving out saying there was 9 Mockdis players picked in it, there was 3 players here, 3 players there, or whatever. But like, imagine how hard it is for him to say, right, how do we pick the rest of or space it out in Leinster? Like, how do we get down and see him? Is he going to have to contact Jerry Davis and say to Jerry, look, give me a dig out here, who's the best player down there, who's the best player here, who should I pick? Like, so it's a tough task even on his end, I think.
I mean, Brian obviously would have the experience of the top players, the top tier, the Leinster Senior League, and like the lads that you'd have with him. Sure, Mark Kenny is involved in the club, Glenn Crowes, and like he's got great people around him.
Great coaches,
yeah. Dave Goodall doing the goalkeepers. Like, they're all real experienced people. But as I said to you, I'm not questioning Brian in this, or the people that would have been doing that job. It's the process of getting the job. I feel if we want to make this whole thing better, stronger, the likes of that just can't happen.
Stop paying players and start doing interviews. That's what we should do.
I'm trying not to laugh into that, Mike. I'm trying not to laugh into that, Mike.
On that subject and going back to it a little bit, I think a lot of not a lot of clubs, I don't know, maybe I'm probably a little bit biased to say Crumlin, but I think Crumlin have fallen victim to the way it is now with paying as well, with, you know, like losing players that, like, they always attracted in the top players. After the year after we won that league, that time the first year James took over, there was probably 4 or 5 players out of that starting 11 that were, you know, nabbed off, or 1 or 2 I think might went to League of Ireland, but a little core kind of got took away from to be offered money, obviously, do you know what I mean? So Crumlin fell victim to that.
And
there's other teams as well that are probably like the likes of, I don't know,
but you just saw that
and things like that.
When Martin was the manager of the Leinster Senior League, I'm sure he was doing the same thing as James said. He was wasn't using money, he was using reputation, representing the Leinster Senior League. So he was doing it, just wasn't paying players. So he wasn't. Other clubs that had none of that, had no money and had no one on the representative side of the squad, they suffered. So no one's thinking that sort of things. Like,
okay, how many times was Martin say involved in or as the Leinster Senior League manager or assistant, which would have helped it. Like, if you're going, I mentioned that Belgrave 03, we went up as winners. Crumlin come up as runner up. So kind of things that would have fallen into, when I say fallen into place, they didn't fall into place because he was just lucky. He put a huge amount of time into his club. He's secretary. He's a great secretary. And he's a great manager. There's no question or doubt about that. But John Wilkes had finished up. Pete Mann had gone League of Ireland. And now Martin's in the Leinster Senior League probably every other week. He's in the DDSL. So, like, there's fingers in a lot of pies there. And he's building, like, the Crumlin team that would have coming up. We sort of, when I was helping Liam at Bluebell, James Lee and Martin Kramer came down to Bluebell training, and they sort of didn't feel that they felt they didn't feel that welcome. They went down to.
I think you said there was no football there. It was just all running or something like that, wasn't it?
James, something like that, yeah.
He said it was all physical work, wasn't no football. So I think
when at training, I blame him on that.
Yeah, but
so was probably more.
What you were saying is that John Wilkes has gone out of the game, but he's been within the game and he's not affiliated with a team. And Martin would have been a best idea.
Yeah, John has only passed recently.
No, I mean
back then.
And it's a good valid point, because it goes back to what I said there, even about Brian having to go and look at players around Leinster. Like, if you had somebody that wasn't affiliated with a team. He's going to be able to go around the Leinster Senior League every Sunday and every Friday and watch every single team every single weekend and see who's in form, instead of, say, Martin over the years being there for probably having them for, I don't know how many years Martin had the Leinster Senior League and being involved in a long period of time anyway, instead of him just saying, alright, I'm gonna have 7 Crumlin players in it and 2 at Talcott and 1 at Bluebell or whatever it may be, because there always seems to be a little bit of biasness in it when, you know, if Andy Newnan got it, he had a good cord of Bluebell players. Gary Howlett probably had a cord of Drumcondra players. Martin had a cord of Crumlin players and things like that. So if you have that certain person that's not affiliated with the team, he's going and watching, he's going to know everybody who's in form, and he's not going to be biased to anybody. And it could probably turn out to be a bit more of a, I don't know, a bit more of an honour of the representative then, I don't know, like, but that's where I think is probably the best way, and you're obviously thinking that as well, and have been thinking that.
I would suggest try it.
Yeah.
See, does that work? And certainly if people are looking at, say, the Oscar trainer and think that that's less prestigious, but like, why would be? I don't understand why people would feel that there's less prestige involved with that, because if you're playing in that say junior level and you're getting picked to represent the Leinster Senior League squad, or the Leinster Senior League, should I say, within the Leinster Senior League squad, I think that's a massive honour.
Massive, yeah.
And particularly if you're a young lad coming into the league, you see, you've got with this whole League of Ireland, even you can say the 13s, the 15s, the 17s, then it goes to the 20s. You've got lads that are playing, say, under 17 League of Ireland, and then you think under 20s, or they come up to your club, and because they were with a League of Ireland club, they think, I'll just go straight into that first team, I'll be alright. You don't realise how good the senior division is, and how tough it is. Now, I'm going to say how tough it is, I mean
physically.
There's the physical demands. Now, there's a lot of good football played in the senior division. It's not like the rough and tumble that there was a bit, I suppose, when I first started, where you'd hear this, you're going out onto the pitch, you're going out onto the pitch, and he's a really good player, nail him. I mean, that wasn't a part of what you're, for me as a manager, saying in the dressing room. I think you're talking to the players, make sure you leave a bit on him. Now, this sort of stuff that you're on the sideline where it'd nearly be encouraged when there's a good player. Break him up.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's a lot of that gone from the game.
Thankfully, I wasn't a good player, so never happened to me. I just played and skip off the pitch.
So that's it now with seniors.
The whole
at all, or?
With Talatown, they were trying to sort of strengthen the senior side of it. I went in there a couple of years ago. 2 years ago. That's how I ended up helping out my young lads team. They weren't ready for it. So Talatown are hopefully very close to getting their Astro pitch. They've got the Sports Capital grant. That might start next summer. So then they'll be more prepared for and putting the structures in place in the background to try and bring on that senior side of Talatown.
60 odd teams there, and along the open runs
in Talatown.
Yeah, I said you came out of nowhere. It was, yeah.
Like schoolboy and senior, obviously. 60 teams.
64.
Some going in it, and obviously he's having a private ground there, the clubhouse.
So
like
oh yeah, so like there's
enough room for the
Paul
facilities.
Barry, the academy. If you're looking at how enthusiastic when you're around, you see with managers or in the managers group. Committee wise, they seem to be strong. They only built that clubhouse 5 years ago. It's fully paid for.
Bars next.
Come on. So to get the Astro up in Carlin Park, now part of, I suppose, a little bit of the struggle would be pitches. So they have Postal and they have the Astro pitches in Postal. There's a couple of pitches now that they're sharing with Oldbourne and Albury down in Aylesbury, on Time and Bond there as well. we use the Astro at the new Sean Walsh Astro there beside Rovers ground, and then we've used in Old Bond Community School of the Astro in there. So yeah, there's a couple of people there that organise all the training venues, goes out early in the week, the fixtures that go out, referees organised. There's a few people there that do absolutely.
Yeah, it has to be a few people, 60 odd teams. There has to be a few people there.
So in time, they'd hope there's a couple of lads now doing the senior, Mark O'Connor and Graham Weaver. So that seems to be much better organised this year than it has been. So hopefully then it just goes from strength to strength. You can start bringing in these schoolboy teams then in behind it to try and strengthen the senior setup. So you'll always try and, I certainly try and help out in any capacity that I can.
So onwards and upwards, yeah. So we go to our questions now, alright? We'll start it off here. So
are we not done?
Do you want more, do you? So many pages we got there.
Oh, well, I wrote down, in case you were asking me with team, or I just wrote down a few notes.
Well, here we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, any regrets in football?
Any regret? Yeah, I think I mentioned one earlier on that although we would have celebrated wins and so on, but you should have let that kind of. I think you'd always appreciate. It's funny when you ask the questions and that I sent on to you in relation to honours that you won and all the rest. When you look back and you go, like, that's
down memory lane, yeah.
That's quite decent, and you had great memories and all the rest of it. Probably didn't.
Just didn't live in the moment when you won them, was it?
Yeah, probably should have celebrated that a bit more. But
yeah,
like in terms of the clubs that I would have played for, and I'm talking about every manager that I played under, I'd have huge respect for and great time for. I said to you about, I still go on holidays with a good few of the lads where we go golf holiday or we go weekends away in either here or UK. That's golf related. There's the reunion group with Belgrove. So the 20th anniversary was last year.
For the intermediate?
Yeah. So the year before, Paul Whitmarsh had come up here. He lives in Cork. And I suggested to the lads, well, why don't we get down to Cork? Because Paul lives down there. Paul, sadly, not long after he had finished up, his wife got breast cancer and she passed. So he reared the three young boys obviously on his own after she passed. But I just thought it might be a nice idea for us to get down. So we went down, and of course Paul being Paul, we went into the restaurant for food. So he paid for the dinner. He should have done that, but he paid for the dinner.
Yeah,
If you met him, he's a real nice bloke. But yeah, so regrets, probably just
not celebrating them up.
Probably not celebrate some of them wins.
Would it be more on like not enjoying the feel of it? And I suppose that's part of the celebration as well. But to actually sit back and look at it.
See, I think there's a part of your moments. Yeah. I think there's a part of where you're in danger of being, how would you say, not misunderstood, or it could be misinterpreted. But, and I don't want it to sound the wrong way, but because you had a run of where you were winning trophies, which was great, but maybe you didn't appreciate it enough.
Yeah, well put, yeah.
Because it wasn't coming to you easy. You had to work hard for every single one of them. You know, I listened to David Lacey talking, and David Lacey talking about he was probably favourite because he was a bloody brilliant player. But there's a fella that worked and earned everything that, like,
he got. Yeah, we said that to Davey anyway, didn't he? He got everything he deserved out of football.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
He still has that drive now. He has Davey.
No, and I don't even know him. I wouldn't know him on a personal level. I wouldn't even know him to talk to. But like, for the few matches that you would have managed against him, and so Davey was playing in a completely different league. Then he went to Leicester. That's where I know him from. And then watching him in matches, well, he would have earned everything that. Yeah.
Best player you played with?
Probably for lads that I would have played, I wouldn't have said, you say best player that you played with. I played with Kieran at three clubs, Kieran Duffy, Kieran would have been a captain. Now Kieran playing centre forward, centre midfield, centre half. and he's one of the few players that I ever played that I probably could beat in a sprint. And he was brilliant in every position. Just a great all-round person and brilliant player. And the fact that I played with him for nearly the whole of my Leinster Senior League journey, I'd probably have to go.
Should we go into best manager?
I loved them all, but Pete would be Pete. I'd say Pete would be the kind of standout one, and given everything that he's given everything that he's achieved in the game.
Because my manager out in UCD he was as well.
Yeah,
he's very high strung about Pete, and he keeps checking your toes already.
Oh yeah,
he's highly regarded though, isn't he? Like within the
Pete would have pushed you, and but he absolutely would have pushed you. But like you were talking about off the pitch, or you getting injured. Sure, like at that time, say playing with St.Francis, and you think like we're getting around the sea. You know, a lot of lads have cars and all now. Most fellas didn't. He drive everywhere, picking fellas. He's leaving work, picking fellas up and bringing them to the physio during the daytime. He would have been remarkable like it that way.
Your best club?
That'd be real difficult because those three clubs are great clubs, but the days at Francis and the people at Francis, like you're talking about, and that's, I don't want to sound, or it might come across disrespectful, disingenuous, the people that would have been at Bluebell, the committee men that would have been at Bluebell, the committee men that would have been at Belgrave. St. Francis was just that little bit special. And the All-Ireland, I went to Armagh, Galway after the match. I had gotten a text off Brendan. Brendan's still involved with St. Francis on the committee. And he said there's a few of them meeting up for Pete's birthday in town. After the All-Ireland, I went in. She went to the pub all day, and she just don't want to leave. Like.
Yeah.
Just
the old stories flowing back.
Brilliant. Like, and the fact, I suppose, Pete Martin Kerr, Tony Doyle, Brennan Toner, Bernard Connolly, Swifty, the two Swifties, Kenny John, Paul McNally, Stephen Cooney. Which you couldn't want for better company.
Yeah.
And then the committee men that were there as well. John Curran, Shay Burgess, Brendan, just great people.
Lead into the next one then. Your best friend in football?
I might upset a couple if I call that one out. Kieran was my best man. Liam Riley was one of my grooms, man. Graham that I played with, I'm still mate, so I play golf. We were actually in Sandyford last night in the golf simulator. But given that Kieran was the best man, I'll have to say Kieran. I'll have to say Kieran.
The hardest player you played against?
Ooh. I probably would have to say, in that Jerry Archer team, I never mentioned, Jimmy Dunn was a brilliant player. And when you say hardest, you mean like toughest?
Someone that gave you the toughest time when you were.
Yeah, it's
players probably see like, geez, he's starting today.
Yeah.
Stephen Barry would have been very tough to play against. Fullback.
Who was he with?
Cherry Orchard. Jimmy Dunn was a brilliant player. Like those lads I mentioned, Kevin Corley, but they were hard in terms of being very, very, very competitive. There was no one that I'd say stand out that you kind of would have really feared or anything like that. But yeah, they would have been tough opponents. A couple of them that would have played for Wayside was Velop, Jason Staunton, Collie Talbot. They're all great players in their time.
So favourite memory?
We won the Intermediate Cup of Belgrave in Cork, and there was no stand behind the far goal. My father used to always stand away off on his own. Final whistle of that.
Brilliant.
That hug in the box.
Yeah.
And a year later went away on my first foreign holiday with him, and so that kind of it'd have so much meaning. Belgrave were after qualifying for the FAI Senior Cup and drew a team in Cork, and we went away. My old bosses offered me his villa So I brought mum, dad, and a couple of my sisters and their husbands. And we got away, and a few days into the holiday, he's looking to see can my sister get a flight back home because he wanted to go to the Belgrave match down in Cork. But that was football mad, like. But that whole he was dead a year later. He died 6 weeks after he retired. But that memory where you've won an All Ireland, and
Brilliant. Yeah, that's it.
He would be out watching every single match that you played. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
Players that didn't fulfil their potential.
Wayne Kelly, league slip manager. I used to give him a death in training at Bluebell. Every training session was nearly a row with him because of his.
That's how good he could have been.
Oh yeah, like he would have been on trials as a schoolboy. I think in his first year playing senior, he was with Cherry Arts. I think he won the league with Cherry Arts. His first year playing senior football, and then he came down to Bluebell, and I think he always played in the Saturday team.
Of his own choice or attitude? Or
he didn't work hard enough. Had all the ability in the world, but didn't work hard enough. He used to drive me mad. One particular funny incident with him where on a Thursday I used to work 9 to 9. I worked in City Centre, and Bluebell used to train 8:30 in Ballyfermot's ground, and then go over to Dublin bus for 9 to 10. So I turn up for the 9 to 10. I used to get out 20 minutes early from work, drive straight up the Dublin bus and out onto that. So he nicknamed me Astro P. So anyway, we're in training, we're playing a game in training, and we're getting done. And of course, I'm going mad. So I asked John, could we stop the game and give us a few minutes? A couple of minutes with the team. So anyway, I start giving out, and Wayne started having a go back at me, and he goes, hang on a second here, you turn up here, Astro P. You turn up here at 9 o'clock and train for an hour. We're all had to be in training real fucking hard across the road there when you weren't here. I said, oh, okay. I said, did you run your start hard in the car? I said, yeah. And I said, and what about that team up there you're playing against? Were they not doing anything? So they weren't training as hard as you?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be Wayne would chew from the hip, but wouldn't actually at times wouldn't. And he's a real clever fella, but he wouldn't think about what he's saying. But yeah, I'd say with Wayne would be one that would have bothered me in that because I thought he was a real good player. Yeah. And don't mention that he got sent off from Mount in a final to make sure you leave that out. Is it that time, is it?
So we're going to best 11.
That played with, managed.
Which way you go?
Both.
Yeah.
All right. Played with Alan O'Sullivan. That was at Francis. John Swift. Played with him at 3 clubs. Paul McNally, Liam Riley. Liam would have been Bluebell. Pat Curran would have been Francis and Bluebell. Anthony Doyle would have been Belgrave. Kieran Duffy, 3 clubs. Bluebell, Francis, Belgrave. Jonathan Prizeman, Belgrave. Very hard to call between Paul Knight and Graham Dunning. Graham actually won FAI Intermediate Player of the Year. Paul Knight's the lad that played under 4 managers at Newcastle. Great player. Paul Whitmire, centre forward. That's an easy one. And Tom O'Clark on the left. Francis. Tom O'Clark's a brilliant winger.
Did you all?
And I'd have happily watched
that, yeah, and not being involved. If you mentioned the few there that you played at your 3 clubs with, would you all have gone at the same time? And
I would have said roughly. Pat, yeah. No, Pat wasn't the 3 clubs. Sorry, Swifty, yeah, more or less. Kieran Duffy would have been the 3 clubs, yeah. Yeah. More or less all at the same time, yeah.
You have a best 11 so far.
Managed Congo goalkeeper. That was when we won the senior one. Now, back fork and Gary Walsh, or Gary Murphy. I'm sure they'll get a phone call if you listen to it. Why am I not in that? Gareth Peters, Luke Walsh, very hard to decide between them.
Did you have Gary Murphy at left full with Firhouse, or was he centre half?
Left full and centre half.
Both.
Yeah,
you can fill in both at any of them.
Well, yeah, because we would have had. We would have had really good centre halves. Glenn Walsh, a brilliant centre half. Brian Cully and Glenn would have won a league at Bluebell after they left Firhouse Clover. Oh, yeah. Mick Gaynor, he was one that came in when we amalgamated with Sacred Heart. Him and another lad with the Saturday set up cab. And both of them end up getting player of the year. I remember we'd Blair training, we'd Gary training. Who was the other centre half at the time? Anyway, the management team were not going, like, we need to try and get Blair across the across the line, or Gary across. And I said, what about this McGainer fella, lads? You're not looking at this McGainer fella in training. And then I actually said to Darren Forsyth, ask Carl what's it like to play against him in training. And then Darren came back to me and goes, Carl thinks he's absolutely outrageous. You just can't get past him.
He's filled in ahead of Blair and Gary.
Yeah, Blair would be disappointed he's not in there, but yeah, Mick's a really, really, really good centre half. Then David Vickery, for me, if you're talking about best player that you would have managed, like he falls.
Good lad to pick up.
Oh yeah, he was 100%.
Yeah,
everything training. Darren O'Grady, Mikey Doyle, outrageous player, Mikey Doyle. Carl Forsyth, Darren Forsyth, the wingers, and then Shane Mario Dolan would have been, you say, look, goal scorer, but then Lee Morta was the lad that came.
We won't hear the end of this now. We're hearing Mario.
Was Mario with Firhouse, was he? Yeah.
Bluebell.
Mario was what was it?
Yeah, was he?
Yeah.
That's just talking about Lon. He's trying to be on with the stories.
And it scored some outrageous goals in the time that he was with us. He went up north then.
Last day of the transfer season, was it? Transfer window.
Did he sign for the police up there?
Oh,
was his first club not the police? No,
I was too sure. He told me he went there. I can't remember now.
I think he signed for the police. They obviously didn't know his background. Yeah, so yeah, very hard. Mario would have been more of a goal scorer, but Lee would have probably been a better all-round player.
Very good.
So that's not giving you a direct 11. And
it's more of the honourable mentions,
I brought
isn't it, really?
one little last bit. So this is for all volunteers. Because there's a little thing that's crept into. I don't know what it's like at your club. How are you on volunteers? You struggle with it?
No, what should be. I think we're all right there. We have Mick and Jay, Mick McLaughlin and Jay Lee there. That kind of 24/7. Yeah.
Jay, Mick are up here every day.
Pictures to be immaculate evening, Public Park.
The thankless jobs,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Obviously, John Fox has been doing as well. Yeah.
Sunday mornings, Saturday mornings at 8:30.
Because there's an element that's crept in with players where, we want this more professional approach. But that's putting more work onto your volunteers.
That's standards though, isn't it?
No, of course you want to, and you want to do everything.
To put the work in as well. Like, you want standards, you must well try.
You want to do everything
set them
to
yourself.
The best of your ability, and have everything right, and I get that, absolutely. But we have to be careful that we don't put too much work on to the volunteers at the club. And if you have lads that are here from academy right up, I would imagine they try row in. Whether that's helping them or, I don't know, if nets have to be taken down after matches. I know it was a Talent Helmet side, which is great for me because you see the parents and all, they all row in. So if we finish up a postal and the goalposts have to come off, for example, I know it's only a little job.
Yeah, but when
you're doing so many jobs, even when it comes to cleaning up the sidelines and the whole lot, it's great that people will row in and don't leave it to a couple of individuals.
Definitely.
It was a great, it's a story about that's not my job. You probably heard it before. But it's about 4 people named nobody, anybody, somebody and everybody. So there was an important job to be done and everybody was sure somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realised that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Basically, it's everybody's job to ensure that the job gets done. Everybody has their role. Be the best you can be in your role, and don't use the term, that's not